This is how to calculate inheritance tax for the SQE. If you're struggling with calculating inheritance tax for the SQE, you need to watch this video. We're going through the SRA spec question on inheritance tax and are explaining how to get to the answer using Future Solicitor's resources to make it so much easier for us. So here we have the situation where a man has passed away and leaves everything to his nephew. He wasn't married and he never made any gifts during his lifetime. We can see his assets were a £175,000 house, which he lived in for 20 years and it was his primary residence. He has bank accounts totaling £550,000 and he had a different house worth £170,000 which he had inherited from his aunt. And we know he had debts and funeral expenses of around 9 grand. And the question is asking us to calculate the inheritance tax that is payable. So they've given you the nil rate bands here. I wouldn't expect to be given this if I were you. Be prepared to know the current year's bands, as I'm not sure they'll always give you this. So our total assets for this estate equal £895,000 and we have £9,000 in debts. So first off, they tell us he made no lifetime gifts. This is very important. As Future Solicitor's resources explain, the fact that there were no gifts mean that there were no potentially exempt transfers or PETs. This is important because your nil rate band can be used to bring down the value of your estate before it is taxed, meaning you pay less inheritance tax. As we know, he is a bachelor. We also know he can't claim any partners nil rate bands because he was single. He has the full 325,000 nil rate band and 175,000 residence nil rate band. Now we have to be really careful here. This is the first time that they're trying to trip us up in this question. Although the house worth £175,000 was his primary residence, it does not qualify for the residence nil rate band. Now why is that? Let's check what Future Solicitor says. For there to be a qualifying residential interest for the RNRB, the residential property needs to be closely inherited. What does this mean? It either goes to a direct descendant or a direct descendant's spouse or civil partner. In our scenario, the man is giving everything to his nephew, who is not a direct descendant. So we can't use the residence nil rate band. So let's get into the calculation. Our total value of our estate is 895k. First, we need to take out the debts and funeral expenses, which brings us down to 886k. We know that we can't use the RNRB thanks to Future Solicitor. So let's take off the NRB of £325,000, which brings us to £561,000. We aren't done though. That is how much of our estate is subject to inheritance tax. Inheritance tax is now going to be charged at 40% of our £561,000. So £561,000 times by 0.4 is £224,400 of inheritance tax. Now let's check the answer. Yep, £224,400. When calculating inheritance tax for the SQE, you just need to work through it in a logical order like this, remembering your legal knowledge, and it makes it so much easier. Don't overcomplicate it, just follow through the steps. Remember, you can access Future Solicitor through the link in my bio using code Jay'sLawLife for a 10% SQE1 discount. Let me know if this helped you and follow for more.